The morning sun filtered through the large windows of Jungkook's mansion, casting a golden glow on the expensive marble floors. The atmosphere inside, however, was far from peaceful. Stop it, Jungkook, stop it. Taehyung groaned, shielding himself with his arms as Jungkook's fist landed on him. Jungkook, standing tall and furious, didn't stop. His dark eyes burned with anger, his jaw clenched tight as he continued hitting Taehyung. Not too strongly, but enough to make his point. Two of their friends, Jimin and Hosuk, stood nearby trying to intervene. Why do you have to stop? Jungkook growled, his voice dripping with rage. How dare you play with my sister's feelings? You were acting like you loved her behind my back. Half an hour ago, the scene had been completely different. The four of them had been sitting in the luxurious lounge of Jungkook's mansion, casually sipping whiskey and enjoying their morning. The topic of conversation had been random until Jimin, a little too relaxed from the alcohol, accidentally blurted out a shocking truth. They and Jia are in love, Jimin had said, his words slurred slightly. The moment those words left Jimin's mouth, the entire room froze. Jungkook's glassy, halfway to his lips, stopped midair. His sharp gaze snapped to Taehyung, who stiffened in his seat. The air grew tense as Hoseok glanced between them nervously. Jungkook placed his glass down with a thud. What did you just say? Jimin's eyes widened as he realized his mistake. I. Jia, my sister. Jia? Jungkook cut him off, his voice dangerously low. He turned to Taehyung. You better explain yourself. Taehyung swallowed hard. Jungkook listened. But Jungkook wasn't in the mood to listen. He launched at Taehyung, knocking him off the couch and onto the floor. That's how the fight had started, and now here they were, Jungkook punching Taehyung while Jimin and Hosuk tried to stop them. It's true, I love her. Taehyung finally yelled between blows, his voice desperate. Jungkook paused for a second, his grip on Taehyung's collar tightening. How is that true? You have loved Lily for 3 years. Then how come you love my sister Jia? Taehyung, still panting, looked Jungkook straight in the eyes. Lily cheated on me 2 years ago. Jungkook immediately stepped back, shock flashing across his face. What? Taehyung sighed, wiping his bleeding lip. She cheated on me, Jungkook. I never told you because I didn't want to appear weak. I broke up with her, but it wasn't easy. Then one day Gia saw me and Lily fighting in the park. She came to me, said she would help me move on. She was kind, understanding. She made me feel like I could heal. Over time, we became friends, and then we realized we had feelings for each other. It happened 3 months ago, not that long ago. Jungkook exhaled deeply, his anger slowly dissipating. He trusted Taeyong. If he was saying this, then it had to be true. But something still didn't sit right with him. Then why didn't you guys tell me? Jungkook asked, crossing his arms. Taeyong looked down. I was scared. I thought you wouldn't accept us. Jungkook scoffed. You don't trust your best friend? Taeyong was speechless. Guilt washed over his face as he muttered, I'm sorry. Jungkook studied him for a moment before his expression darkened again. Would you have even told me about this if Jimin hadn't spilled it? Taeyong hesitated. I was planning to, but I wasn't sure if you would agree for our marriage. Jungkook's eyebrows shot up. Marriage? Taeyong nodded nervously. Jungkook smirked. Fine, I will agree to your marriage on one condition. Taeyong tensed. What condition? Jungkook took a step closer, his voice unwearing. You give your sister to me because I love her and I want to marry her. The room fell silent again. Taehyung's expression immediately changed. His shock turned into anger without thinking. He punched Jungkook square in the face. You are keeping this a secret too? Jungkook barely flinched. Instead, he smirked, wiping the blood from the corner of his lip. Looks like we both have secrets. And just like that, the fight erupted again. This time it was Taehyung throwing punches and Jungkook countering with equal force. Jimin and Hoseok groaned, trying once again to separate them, but the two men were too stubborn to listen. Then suddenly a loud crash echoed through the room. Jimin grabbed a flower vase and smashed it on the floor. Enough, he yelled. Why don't you guys stop this nonsense and just marry each other's sisters? Both Jungkook and Taehyung froze, breathing heavily. They stared at Jimin, then at each other. A moment passed before Jungkook smirked. Jungkook, not a bad idea. Taehyung exhaled sharply. Fine, but Jia has to establish her dream company first. Until then, no wedding. Jungkook nodded. Fair enough, but my wedding happens first. Taehyung groaned. You're impossible. Jungkook grinned. And you're stuck with me. Jimin and Hoseok sighed in relief as the deal was made. The two best friends, after nearly breaking each other's bones, had finally come to an agreement. And just like that, two weddings were set in motion. That evening, Taehyung came home and sat on the couch looking exhausted. You were in the kitchen, preparing dinner. The comforting aroma of spices filled the air as he stirred the soup gently. Life had never been easy after losing a parent 6 years ago, but Jungkook had always been there. Despite his royal and powerful background, he never saw you and Taehyung as different. He supported you both financially and emotionally, treating Taehyung like a brother since their middle school days. You wiped your hands on a towel and brought a glass of water to Taehyung. Papa, how is your work? Is the office going well? You asked, handing him the glass. Taehyung took a sip and nodded. Yes, it's fine. The business is stable. What about yours? How is the bracelet company doing? You smiled, feeling proud of your work. It's going great. Orders are increasing and I'm managing everything well from home. Taehyung hummed in response. That's good. You were about to get up to set the dinner table when Taehyung gently held your breast, stopping you. His voice softened as he asked, why do you love anyone? Your heart skipped a beat. For a moment, Jungkook's face flashed in your mind. His sharp face, his deep voice, the way he always protected you and Taehyung, it all made your heart race, but you quickly shook your head. You had never talked to Jungkook about your feelings and you weren't sure if he even liked you that way. Taehyung watched you carefully before speaking again. I want you to promise me something. You looked at him confused. What is that, Appa? Promise me that you will marry the guy I choose for you. Your eyes widened in shock. What? Your heart pounded in your chest. Who is it? Taehyung's expression remained calm. It's Jungkook. You froze. Jungkook? You repeated, your voice barely above a whisper. Relief flooded through you, but surprise took over just as quickly. Didn't he? Did he agree? Taehyung smiled slightly. Yes, he agreed. Your lips parted in astonishment. Jungkook agreed. That meant he wanted to marry you too. Your stomach flipped nervously. Are you sure he really wants this? Yes, one. He wouldn't agree if he didn't mean it. Taehyung reassured you. So, are you ready for this marriage? Your mind was spinning. Was this really happening? You had loved Jungkook for so long, but never dared to hope for something like this. You felt nervous, excited, and a little scared at all once. But deep down, you knew your answer. You nodded slowly. You say, Oppa. Young's face lit up with a warm smile. That's great. Thank you, Wine. He patted your head affectionately. I'll go freshen up. As he walked into his room, you remained on the couch, lost in thought. Your fingers traced the edge of your dress absent-mindedly. Jungkook, your future husband, the thought alone made your face glow with warmth. You had feelings for him for a long time, but you had always been too afraid to express them. Jungkook was strong, powerful, and sometimes intimidating. Even though you had known him for years, he still made you nervous. But now you were going to marry him. A small smile played on your lips as you imagined your future with Jungkook. Would he treat you kindly as a husband? Would he love you the way you loved him? So many questions filled your mind, but one thing was certain: you couldn't wait to find out. A few days later, you got married to Jungkook in a grand and intimate ceremony. The wedding was beautiful, filled with flowers, lights, and soft music playing in the background. You wore a delicate white dress, hands trembling slightly as you held on to Taehyung's arms. Jungkook stood at the altar dressed in a sharp, black suit. His intense eyes locked on you. He looked breathtakingly handsome, but his gaze made your stomach twist with nervousness. As you exchanged bows, Jungkook's voice was firm and clear, while yours was softer, almost hesitant. When he slid the ring onto your finger, his touch was gentle, yet it sent a shiver down your spine. The ceremony ended with a kiss, but Jungkook only pressed a soft peck on your forehead, sensing your nervousness. Now you lived in Jungkook's mansion. The place was massive, elegant, and luxurious. Yet it felt cold, unfamiliar. The first morning after your wedding, you woke up to find Jungkook already awake, leaning on one elbow while watching you. Good morning, wife, he greeted in a deep, husky voice. You flinched slightly at his words, feeling your cheeks heat up. The word wife felt strange yet thrilling. Good morning, you replied softly, avoiding his gaze. Jungkook reached out, trying to tuck a strand of hair behind your ear, but you instinctively leaned back. His hand froze midair before he sighed and withdrew it. You saw a flicker of something in his eyes, disappointment, hurt. I didn't say anything, just got out of bed and stretched. I'll freshen up first, he said, walking into the bathroom. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. You tried to be a good wife. You prepared Jungkook's meals, organized his clothes, and even waited for him at night when he returned from work. But no matter how much you did, you couldn't shake off the nervousness around him. One evening, you were setting the dining table when Jungkook entered the dining room. He loosened his tie, looking tired yet undeniably handsome. He sat down and watched you quietly as you placed a plate in front of him. Thank you, he murmured, but you only gave a small nod before stepping back. Jungkook frowned slightly. Wine, sit with me. Let's eat together. You hesitated. I already ate. His jaw clenched slightly. You always say that. You bit your lip, unsure how to respond. Jungkook sighed and picked up his fork. As he ate, he kept glancing at you as if trying to figure out what was wrong. Jungkook started noticing the little things, how you would flinch slightly when he caught two blues, how you never met his eyes for too long, how you would always find an excuse to avoid moments of intimacy. One night, Jungkook entered the bedroom after a late meeting. You were sitting on bed reading a book, but as soon as you saw him, you quickly put it down and pretended to sleep. Jungkook sighed. He sat on his side of the bed. running a hand through his hair. He knew you needed time, but his patience was running thin. He wanted to hold you, feel your warmth, tell you how much he loved you, but every time he tried, you moved away from him. The next morning, he decided to address it. Why do I scare you? He asked suddenly during breakfast. You choked on your tea. What? Jungkook's eyes were sharp as he looked at you. You're always so distant. Do you think I would ever hurt you? You shook your head quickly. No, it's not that. Then what is it? His voice was filled with frustration, but there was also a hint of sadness. You lowered your gaze. I just need time. Jungkook exhaled deeply, trying to control his emotions. He leaned back in his chair, watching you. Fine, take all the time you need, but just know I won't wait forever, Ryan. Your heart ached at his words. You wanted to tell him you loved him, but the fear of change, of opening up, held you back. One evening, Jungkook returned home early. You were in the kitchen washing dishes when you felt his presence behind you. Ryan, he called softly. You stiffened. Yes, he suddenly reached out, gently placing his hands on your shoulders. You tensed immediately, your heart pounding. Jungkook noticed your reaction and let out a frustrated sigh. He pulled away, rubbing his face. I don't understand you. You're my wife, but you act like a stranger. Do you hate me? Your eyes widened. No, I don't hate you. Then why? Why are you always scared to be near me? His voice was filled with pain. I love you, Vine, but you won't even let me touch you. Do you know how hard that is for me? You stared at him, shocked. He loved you? Jungkook ran a hand through his hair, looking frustrated. I don't want to pressure you, but I don't know how much longer I can pretend like this doesn't hurt me. You felt tears sting your eyes. You wanted to tell him that you loved him too, that you weren't afraid of him, just afraid of your own emotions, but the words wouldn't come out. Jungkook looked at you one last time before shaking his head. I will be in my room. Take your time, Vine, but please don't push me away forever. As he walked away, your heart ached. You knew you had to face your feelings. One day, Jungkook was in his home office, going through some documents when Taehyung walked in and sat across from him. How is your marriage life going? Taehyung asked, casually leaning back in his chair. Jungkook sighed, rubbing his temple. Tae, does your sister love me or not? Taehyung frowned, confused. What happened? Jungkook exhaled deeply and explained everything. Have you hesitated around him? Have you avoided his touch? Have you seemed scared rather than happy? Jungkook, trust me, she loves you more than anyone, even more than me. But she grew up like that. Since childhood, she has never befriended any boys. She's always been shy and reserved. You need to give her time. Jungkook leaned back, arms crossed. I don't know, Tae. If you can't do something about it, then forget about your marriage with Jia. Taehyung's eyes widened. Yeah, this is unfair. Jungkook shook his head. I feel like you forced Vine into this marriage just for Jia. I married her thinking she loves me, but now it feels like the opposite of what I imagined. So now it's in your hands. Find out the truth. If she doesn't love me, I won't force her to stay. Love means wishing happiness for our loved ones. Jungkook stood up, leaving the room. Taehyung sat there for a moment, processing Jungkook's words. He smiled slightly. Jungkook truly cared about you, but he also knew the truth. You loved Jungkook, you just didn't know how to express it. He needed to do something to help. A few days later, Jungkook was in the bathroom taking a shower. He hadn't locked the door. Taehyung, noticing this, smirked. As an idea formed in his mind, he walked into the kitchen where you were making fresh juice. Wine, the geyser in your bedroom isn't working. Jungkook asked you to check. He's in his office room. You nodded, wiping your hands. Okay, I'll check it. You walk to the bedroom, then into the bathroom, pushing the door open. The moment your eyes landed on Jungkook, your breath hitched. He stood under the shower, water running down his toned body. He was wearing only shorts, his wet hair sticking to his forehead. Jungkook turned around at the sound of the door. His eyes widened slightly as he saw you frozen in place. One, you gasped, quickly turning around to leave, but when you grabbed the doorknob, it wouldn't budge. You tried again, locked. Panic surged through you. Oppa, you called out, realizing Taehyung had tricked you. Open the door. Taehyung's voice came from the other side. One, now you can't escape. Talk to Jungkook wholeheartedly. Don't keep him hungry like this. Your cheeks burned. Oppa, this isn't funny. Open the door. But Taehyung only chuckled and left, throwing the key on the bed, where you couldn't reach it. Jungkook ran a hand through his wet hair and sighed. Hey, that idiot. You swallowed, still facing the door, not daring to turn around. I didn't know you were inside. I didn't mean to. Jungkook turned the shower knob off and took a deep breath, his wet hair sticking to his forehead. His sharp eyes softened as he stared at you, still holding his hand. The warm water dripped down his toned chest, making you even more nervous, but you didn't let go. You don't want me to open the door? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper, his dark eyes searching yours. You shook your head slightly, biting your lip. No. Jungkook looked at you in surprise. But you always avoid me. You never even let me touch you properly, he said, his voice laced with confusion and frustration. You lowered your gaze, feeling your heart race. I was scared not of you, but of my own feelings. I never had a man close to me before. I didn't know how to act. Jungkook exhaled slowly, trying to process your words. Then why did you agree to marry me? You hesitated for a moment before looking into his eyes. Because I love you, you confessed, your voice barely above a whisper. Jungkook's breath hissed. You love me? He repeated, as if trying to confirm what he just heard. You nodded, gripping his hand tighter. I have loved you for a long time, but I was too shy to say it. I thought maybe you only married me because of your promise to Taehyung. Jungkook scoffed, shaking his head in disbelief. Why do you really think I would marry someone just because of a promise? He stepped closer, his free hand gently cupping your face. I wanted you, only you. I have loved you for so long, but you kept running away from me. Tears welled up in your eyes. I wouldn't run away because I don't love you. I was just scared that I wouldn't be enough for you, that you deserve someone more confident, more open. Jungkook sighed, his thumb brushing your cheek. You are more than enough for me. I just wanted you to see me as your husband, not as a scary mafia man. You smiled faintly. I do. I was just too slow to show it. Jungkook chuckled softly and suddenly pulled you into a warm embrace. The feeling of his bare skin against your clothed body made you shiver, but for the first time you didn't push him away. Instead, you melted into his touch, resting your head against his damp chest, hearing his steady heartbeat. You're really cruel, you know that? He whispered playfully, making me wait so long for this. You giggled softly, wrapping your arms around him. I'm sorry. Jungkook sighed dramatically. You should make it up to me then. You looked at him, raising an eyebrow. And how do I do that? A mischievous smirk appeared on his lips before he suddenly turned on the shower again. You let out a gasp as the warm water rained down on you both. Jungkook, you squealed, trying to step back, but he held you firmly. You can't run anymore, Mrs. John, he teased, his eyes filled with amusement and reflection. You pouted. I'm fully dressed, you idiot. He shrugged, then take. Your cheeks burned as you playfully hit his chest. Ah, stop teasing me. Jungkook laughed, tilting your chin up with his finger. Okay, let me just do one thing. Before you could ask, he leaned down and pressed a soft kiss on your lips. It wasn't rushed or intense. but gentle, warm, and full of love. Your eyes fluttered closed as you kissed him back, your hands gripping his shoulders for support. The sound of the shower, the warmth of his body, and the feeling of his lips against yours made the moment feel surreal. When he finally pulled away, you both were breathless, staring at each other with newfound emotions. Jungkook grinned. Now that's a proper good morning kiss. You laughed, resting your forehead against his. I guess it is. Jungkook tightened his arms around you. You don't need to be scared anymore, man. I'm yours and you're mine. Jungkook's hands hovered near yours as the warm water cascaded over both of you. He was holding back, searching your eyes for any sign of hesitation. Now you're really not scared anymore, he asked, his voice husky, blending with the sound of the running water. You looked up at him, water droplets sliding in his sharp jawline, his bared chest rising and falling steadily. I was never scared of you, Jungkook. I was just scared of how much I love you. His dark eyes softened before a smirk played on his lips, then drove it. Without thinking, you stood on your tiptoes, brushing your lips against his. It was hesitant at first, but Jungkook instantly deepened, wrapping around your waist, pulling you closer against his firm. The water ran between you as he pressed you against the cold shower wall. You drive me crazy. You know what? He murmured against your skin, his hands trailing down your sides. You exhaled sharply as his fingers traced your spine, sending a delicious shiver. Jungkook, you whispered, gripping onto his shoulders for support. Say it again, he demanded. Jungkook, you repeated, breathless. He pulled back just enough to keep your face in his hands, staring into your eyes. I love you, he said, his voice filled with raw emotion. Your heart pounded against your chest. You smiled, your fingers brushing against his damp hair. I love you too. A relieved grin spread across his face before he captured your once more, the showers surrounding you in a warm mist, stealing the moment in the of the falling water. Thank you for watching. If you like the story, please subscribe to this channel.